Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Hello.
Morning.
Hey. So, hi, and welcome to today's session of Marketing Essentials. I'm Erica Davis, and I am joined by the fabulous Miss Jan Van de Zandy, the editor-in-chief of the Future of Customer Engagement and Commerce here at SAP. How are you doing, Jen?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm good, thanks. So today we're talking about personalization in consumer products. And the CPG industry is facing some interesting circumstances when it comes to pursuing data-driven go-to-market strategies, even more so with the current economy. So we are joined by our two great guests, Paul DeForno and Javier Flores, who are going to talk us through what are these issues and how are companies dealing with things like leveraging their data to deliver hyper personalization without alienating their customers. So would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. Paul DeForno, Managing Director at Deloitte Digital, helped to lead the commerce practice. And I have over 25 years of digital experience. And over the last 20 years, I've helped very large brands get online, build e-commerce, build digital personalized experiences.
Hi, Paul. Hi, everyone. I am Javier Flores. I have been with SAP for over 24 years, and I have been helping SAP into the customer experience. I'm focused basically on consumer products and delivering this end-to-end customer experience from sales, marketing, e-commerce, service, all of that.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so let's get this party started. So Paul, we'll start with you. Can you provide your take on digital trends with CPG brands and how it's expanded over the years?
Yeah, the obvious big trend is the acceleration we've all seen in e-commerce over the past year. And especially because of COVID, e-commerce has accelerated 3 to 4 years. And that's driven a number of things that already had been starting. So many CPG brands had already been going more direct to consumer. And in fact, a great example of this, and also somebody who benefited the most last year, is Nike. They grew in the last quarter that they reported, they grew their e-commerce 84%, which is phenomenal. And a lot of that was actually driven by their huge success and growth in China, which China this year, for the first time, they'll be over 50% of their retail purchases will come from e-commerce. So because e-commerce and selling digitally is so important, Nike has now focused a lot of how they go to market through their own stores, through selling direct online. And so you're seeing that overall on many CPGs. In fact, Unilever just announced some of their earnings, and close to 10% of their overall sales are in e-commerce now, almost 5.5 billion, like with a B. Like that's a huge number. Who would have thought? Because I've had these discussions starting, going back 10 years and hearing the CPG leadership say, no, we'll never be in e-commerce. We have these channels that are going already. We don't want to upset them, but now that is the growth area. In fact, Unilever has in their beauty division over 50% is sold via e-commerce. And so that whole e-commerce within the CPG is so critical for their growth. And in fact, it's also driven by some of the things that have affected them in the past. So that battle for when they used to sell locations on shelving, now it's the battle for the digital shelf. Because if you look at one of the biggest growth areas last year was around grocery and grocery e-commerce. And what was amazing to me in the last reported by Walmart, they now do almost $1 billion of ad sales online. So now you can imagine CPGs now have to compete and also pay the retailers just in the same way. They're not getting away from, this where that digital shelf is. They've got to fight for that too. So all of this is changing the way CPG's strategy and especially how important them owning the data.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, and that makes a lot of sense. And Javier, could you expand upon that a little bit and tell us the importance of data to CPG and to bigger brands?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with Paul. I mean, he's kind of spot on. I mean, CPG brands, the challenge that they have today is that before they were competing at the shelf, right? How many competitors you have in one shelf? But today, they have, I mean, thousands of competitors and new entries on the market. So they need to drive this consumer engagement. I mean, I was reading some stats, and less than 8% of consumers are actually committed to a brand, right? So they need to keep working on that, and they need to deliver kind of relevant experiences. And there is no personalization without information, right? So they need to actually understand their consumers. I mean, starting from simple things like their browsing history, let's say, but also then going into demographics. I mean, to the age and uh, location, and then going into psychographics of what they like, what they don't like, what they're interested. I mean, what are their values, and then they need to use that information to deliver those really specific, personalized experience. Like if you are a CEO of a brand, and you have just one chance to talk to a consumer, what would you say? Would you talk about taste? You would talk about health, social responsibility, human rights, environmental. I mean, it's complicated, right? So the more you know them, the better the message that you can give. And then you can learn from the customers you know in order to execute marketing campaigns to the customers you don't know with customer lookalikes, all those learnings that you get.
That everything that you just said, I have like 10 ideas running through my head about, of course, blog posts, things to write about on what you two have said so far. So, so Paul, kind of expanding on what he just said, do you have examples of how CPG companies are using personalization, and can you expand on like the importance of it?
Sure. And, one of the other benefits in the last few years of all this technology being easily out there and the lower threshold of getting people being able to create their own products, things such as Kickstarter and all of these commerce tools out there that enables people to easily sell. It's really brought out the innovation, and you find very niche products and that are becoming successful that target. And so when we talk about personalization, we really want to think about personalization not just from the technical, but how do you authentically connect with the customers you're trying to reach? And so a great example of that is Homesick Candles, right? And if you haven't heard of them, they make candles personalized to cities or states from around the country. And this is actually meeting, a big thing of people being stuck inside and they miss home. This has been a huge growth area, and they took those insights and created like insightful, unique products that for example, if you look at what they did for New Orleans, they went and found the smell of a beignet or the smell of the flowers that's unique to New Orleans and put that all together into a candle. And so you can have that nice reminder of how to connect to that town. Now, that's talking about personalization right into the product, right? And how did they do that? Right? They took data. They talked to their customer. It's so important. And we're actually lucky that we have all these social channels now. You can hear what people are asking, and you need to engage them for that discussion so that not only you're just in the same way when you try and attract others, but do the research to personalize. And they've been so successful. The Win brands, they're now, and what they've done and grown from a CPG perspective, that they've bought, just yesterday they announced they bought gravity blankets, which again was a new product that started off a Kickstarter. They raised over $5 million, and and they've been super successful, but now they're going to help them scale. And so what you're seeing is a whole ecosystem of many of these unique brands that are doing personalized capabilities, and then being super successful. And then at some point they might be bought up by Unilever, because they've bought lots of different brands like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I really love the point that you made as far as really getting to know what customers actually want, and really needing, of course, the customer's consent to be able to prove to them that it's worth sharing this information, and that it's benefiting both sides, right? So Javier, how are brands mitigating getting the data that they want and need from their customers, when customers are also, pretty averse to, giving their data and giving consent? And what are some of the best practices that you've seen around collecting the data and using it?
Oh yeah, that's a great point. I think that for consumer brands, they have an advantage. So I mean, with other industries, because in many cases they already have that consumer trust. Because I mean, if you are eating a soup, right? So from them, there is some kind of trust, right? So there is already some kind of trust with those companies, and many of these companies have been around for centuries, right? So it's like, and these companies need to share that message to the consumers. They are here to stay, right? So that they want these long-term relationships. So for them, in a way to keep engaging. Also, as you will mention, is there is always a trade-off. So if I give my information, what do I get in return, right? So it can be like personalized products, because maybe on the information that I give, I can get access to a set of products that nobody else has. But it can be just personalized experience, which are also great. I mean, some these curated experiences, because now there is so much information that is just, it's great to have just experience like tailored for you. So there is, I mean, we see that companies are reaching to consumers in communities. So they are sharing social information, they are sharing environmental information. So people is willing to at least send their email in order to get access to that to that information. So there is always this trade-off, but also companies need to treat this with responsibility, right? So because there is expectations. If I give a company my birth date, right? So I mean, I'm expecting to get a coupon on my birthday as a present. I mean, that's a responsibility, right? So if you don't know my birthday, yeah, I mean, I cannot expect that. But if I told you, like I might say happy birthday or something, right? So that's the thing that they need to realize. Also, I mean, a challenge that they have is that in many cases they have been running this consumer data by brands, so they are not actually leveraging all the power of the multi-brand consumer. So that's an initiative that they need to focus on. So now that consumer information, it has to be across brand, but they always need to remember that that consumer information belongs to that consumer. So they need to give transparency, the access to delete the information, to know what they're using it for. That's also super important. And I think kind of the most important thing is data security. If they trust you with their data, just don't leave the door open so that somebody will steal it, right? So that's super, super important.
Right. Those are great points. And it's crazy to think of how much things have changed. When my daughters used to cringe when we're checking out and they're like, can I have your email or phone number? No. But now, if it's a product that I love, like, yes, you can have all of my information if you'll supply me with something great in return. So tons of fascinating topics here. We hope that you'll give everybody a follow and that you'll join us next time on February 25th, where we're going to be talking about grocery retail. So thanks everybody for joining and have a great day.
Thank
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
you. Bye.